Welcome to our parents webinar for students getting ready to come to Augustana this fall. We're really excited to share some information with you. My name is Randall Nicol. I'm Executive Director Student Life at the Augustana campus. My job is to oversee and direct the student services outside of the classroom. So our plan for the webinar today is to introduce you to Augustana a little bit more. And I wanted to talk a little bit about our philosophy of student services, which is focused around restorative practices. Also providing you with some information about supporting your son or daughter through an adjustment period. And then to talk about a few conversations that we really recommend you have with your student before they leave home and come here. Universities have recognized that the first few weeks that students are on campus are critical for their success. A lot of time and effort is put into an orientation for students when they arrive. But we also know that the last weeks before they leave home to come to campus are also critical for their success. So we're planning to help with these webinars to create some expectations, to develop relationships, and build a solid foundation before students arrive on our campus. So we have redesigned our orientation process for new students to include a pre-arrival online orientation that students can complete at their own pace. That orientation is hosted on eClass, which also hosts all of the classes that students take when they arrive on campus. So you can see on the screen that there's several modules that students will be able to go through at their own pace. We will still have an on-campus orientation that integrates closely with the first-year seminar course that all new students will take. We're also looking to develop a welcome page on our website that will have a webinar, this webinar for you, as well as some more information about timelines of important events. We know that you're have already agreed to send your son or daughter to Augustana, so we're not going to try and convince you that this is a great place. But we do have a few people that we want to share brief messages with you.
Hello everyone, welcome to our new webinar series, Getting Ready for You. My name is Alan Berger. I serve here at Augustana as the Dean and Executive Officer of the campus. Most of you have already realized there's no guidebook that's been written for how to be the parent of a university student. If you've been here before with older children, you know it's a balancing act. How involved do you want to be in your son's and daughter's education? How independent do you want your son or daughter to be? Those questions aren't really new. You face them as a parent. I have too, at every stage of your child's growth and development. Here in post-secondary education, we can't help but notice the occasional parents who get the balance wrong. In fact, we joke occasionally about helicopter parents who hover too much, or Velcro parents who don't know how to let go. The truth is, though, there's no single right way to manage this balance. Every relationship between a parent and child is different, and every child, himself or herself, is different. So what I would like to do is encourage you to have conversations over the coming summer with your new university student. Ask the same questions. How involved do we want to be? How involved do you want us to be? And in addition, ask yourself some questions. Do you want, for example, to have access to your son's or daughter's grades? How often do you want them to check in with you about what topics? One thing to remember is all of us who work here at Augustana are partners. We have a shared interest in your students' success, and we have many programs to support their success. During this webinar series, you'll be hearing about programs such as our first-year seminar and our early feedback system. When you're on campus, I look forward to opportunities to meet you and welcome conversations. Many of you will be traveling to Augustana later this summer with your son or daughter, and I hope to see you then. Have a great summer.
I think something that makes Augustana special is the fact that it's a small camp. I mean, it's kind of cliche. I think we say it a lot, small campus, big opportunities. But I really found that to be the case. And I think, I feel like genuinely I have never hit a wall here where if I wanted to do something, I not only had the opportunity, but also a support system telling me that, yeah, you can do it. Like even when I was doubting myself, whether or not I should make this application or try to join this initiative, people were always supporting me, whether it was my friends or my professors or people I was working with. And I think that's really valuable. And it pays off in the end because I'm leaving campus genuinely having done everything that I wanted to do in my undergraduate degree. Probably beyond my wildest dreams, probably beyond my wildest dreams of what I thought I would do before starting university. So yeah, I think that's something that makes Augustana really special, that there's just endless possibility and endless support for all the students.
Okay, so another big part of Augustana that I love is the leadership opportunities. So I came here, like I said, to just go after my education, get my Bachelor of Science, and move on. But I found that there are so many leadership opportunities here, and you don't even realize there are leadership opportunities till you're doing it. So I used to dance before I came here, but then I thought I had to stop. But then I got here, and it's like you can create your own club, just like have your friends and get people involved, and you're good. So I started a dance club, and now we just dance for whenever the school has a program, or for like the wellness week, or even the community. Like we got to perform for Sahakirini, which is like an event of the community of Camrose. So Augustana provides opportunity for you to also relate with real life community, like Camrose. And like there are CSL placements, like our class required me to do it. I wouldn't have thought of doing it, but like it allows you to get to do real life things. So like universities, like you're just kind of like, it's not permanent, it's not necessarily real life, but Augustana provides that real life aspect to everything you do. Because like I had to coach young girls in dancing, and it was for a class. Like I wouldn't have known that was an opportunity unless I took that class. And so like you get to do stuff like that. I'm currently the International Cultures Club president. I didn't want to do that, but then a prof was like, oh, hey, you look like you like meeting new people. You should try this out. And I'm like, yeah, and it's very fulfilling. And like, you just make this little impact on other people from doing things that you didn't even mean to do. So it's like, I feel like if you're at a bigger campus, the opportunities are not staring you in the face. So you're not going to be like, oh, let me just try this out, because it's not there. But here, it's a big part of Augustana. Like everyone's willing to see you succeed in all ramifications of your life. Another one is chaplaincy. I didn't even know about the extent of chaplaincy until like my second year, and someone's like, oh, you like to sing, join the worship band, and now it's just part of what I do. So it's like there's so many leadership opportunities here at Augustana, and you don't even have to try too hard to find them. And like people suggest it, people who think you would be good at something, you're just like, hey, try this out, it might be good for you. And half the time it's always good for you. So yeah, that's another thing I love about Augustana.
As the parent of 2 university students, as well obviously as working at the university, I think it's important that we share our philosophy of student support with you. As you can see on the screen, we will treat your son or daughter like an adult when they get to Augustana. We have expectations that they will take the lead in making their own decisions. As a parent, you will still play a critical role in supporting your son and daughter. We also understand that expectations of parental involvement in their adult children's lives has changed over the last years. But the university is not allowed to talk with family members about a student's academic performance, attendance, adjustment to university without the permission of the student. Even with the student's permission, we'll generally not discuss any information without the student present. A key basis for our philosophy is the social discipline window that you can see on the slide that describes 4 approaches to social and behavioral norms. Our goal is to work in the top right window that has a high level of control for the student, accompanied with a high level of support. We strive to limit punitive aspects to serious breaches of the Code of Student Behavior and work with the student to deal with the other issues if they arise. The fundamental unifying hypothesis of restorative practices according to the International Institute of Restorative Practices, is that, quote, human beings are happier, more cooperative and productive, and more likely to make positive changes in their behavior when those in positions of authority do things with them rather than to them or for them, end of quote. Here are a few practical examples of what restorative practices look like in action. Students, and sometimes parents, come to us with an issue that they're trying to solve and want us to fix it. Our first question that we ask ourselves is this a crisis? If yes, then we deal with it immediately. If it isn't a crisis, then we want to work with the student and coach them to find their own solutions. We might say, let me think about it, and let's talk again tomorrow, or maybe in a couple of hours. You might also ask the student, have you thought about how you might address this issue? Or do you have people and resources that can support you? Working with students may involve a range of services that are available at Augustana and or through the University of Alberta. Sometimes students do need to access a range of supports to support their mental and physical health, as well as the practicalities of being at university. You can see a wide range of services listed on this slide. I'm not going to go into any of them in detail, but you can see it ranges from supports for Aboriginal students, which are around 5 to 7% of our student population, to international students, which comprise about 10%. One of the things that we're really proud of is at Augustana, our food services are provided by our own staff and rate very highly on the surveys that students fill out every year. But you can see that your son or daughter can get involved in a whole range of activities. If they are a varsity athlete, almost 20% of our students play some kind of athletic sport competitively, and there's other opportunities for campus recreation as well. We have chaplaincy, counseling supports for mental and physical health, as well as student accessibility services if your son or daughter needs accommodations. So feel free to take a look at our website or other information that provides more information about the services available to our students here at Augustana. Also remember that Camrose is a city of approximately 19,000 people that have a significant range of services available in the community. The great thing about Camrose and about our campus is everything is very close. We know that students coming to university for their first year have a process of adjustment that's pretty similar to what we know of as culture shock, a process of adjustment to living in a new place. Often we think of it as in a new culture or a country. This slide highlights a process that many students go through. I want to emphasize to you, though, that an adjustment period is normal and that your son or daughter won't be the only one going through an adjustment process. If we start on the left side of the screen, you can see that the last month or so living at home before they come to campus can often have a mix of emotions for you and for your son and daughter. Once they arrive on campus, many people experience a rush of excitement. There are so many new people and experiences, it can be very exciting. Your son or daughter may tell you that this is the best place ever and that they might never come home again. That initial excitement can often be replaced by a gradual or sometimes rapid feeling of discontent. It can maybe have them telling you that Augustana is the worst place ever and that they want you to come and pick them up right now. This can be very difficult for you as a parent. My son is at University of Waterloo in Ontario. During his first semester, he got really sick and didn't know anyone yet. So my wife actually called the university and asked, "Can anyone bring my son a banana?" After the low period, students typically find a balanced view that recognizes the positives and negatives of a place. Many students feel a similar uncertainty about the next step as the school year comes to a close and plans are made to go home or maybe to another place for the summer. Coming home can have an equal or sometimes even more difficult culture shock. Your son or daughter will change and grow up a lot and might not fit where they were when they left, and this can cause excitement and anxiety for you and for him or her. I want to emphasize again that an adjustment is normal and that your son and daughter won't be the only one. Some students go through this adjustment quickly, while others take more time. If you are aware of that transition and aware of these different stages for your son and daughter and for yourself, it can be helpful. I want to emphasize sort of 3 areas where we often see an adjustment period for new students. The first one is in academics. You can often have an adjustment in marks as study habits are different and demands and workloads are much different at university than in high school. This can be a shock for students and parents. My own son got his first ever C- on an assignment during his first term at the University of Alberta. That was the lowest mark that I can ever remember him getting. There's also a social adjustment. You can meet a diverse group of people that the students can meet a diverse group of people like they have never met before. Our campus has a significant international student population and has students that come from a range of backgrounds. Your son and daughter can find people that share their interests as well as those from different backgrounds. The third area of adjustment is often around decision making. Living at university has been described as practice for life. Your son and daughter will have the opportunity to make a lot of small and some big decisions. We'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. We've asked a few students to create short messages about their successful transition to university.
I think starting university is a big adjustment for students because you are not only entering this whole new environment, you're also challenged academically in ways that you probably haven't been before. I know that was definitely the case for me when I started my first year. But now that I'm almost graduating, I realize that there's so many resources that students might not be aware of in their day-to-day life. Something that I found value in and helped me a lot through my adjustment period are the 2 counselors that we have here on campus. They're really great resources that all students have access to, and whether it's just the stresses of day-to-day life or something that you're going through that's kind of a bigger deal, they're there to give you support and the tools that you need to process that so that you can focus on being a student and making new friends and doing all of the great things that happen at university.
Hi, my name is Oluwadamilola Lawal, but people call me Dammy for short, and of course you know why, because that's a mouthful. But anyway, I am a 3rd year Canadian physical education student and a minor in biology. And a challenge I faced when I first came to university was a culture shock. So like I said, I'm from Nigeria and we have pretty different belief systems. For example, everyone wants to become a doctor, a lawyer. You know, if you're not that, you're not going to help your country's economy. So go to university, be better, and come back and fix your country. But like a lot of people do that without necessarily knowing why they want to be a doctor or like the importance of you being passionate about something. So a huge challenge I faced was coming in here and trying to get good grades and not disappointing pretty much the entire country, let's be real, not just your parents. So it's like you have this pressure on you and you're like, okay, I gotta make friends, I gotta do all these things, and I also have to be a doctor. So trying to balance all that pressure and trying to like get those good grades were pretty challenging. And in my first year I found myself kind of like trying really hard to get those grades. And university studying is kind of different from high school studying, because all through high school, like it's just different. And so that's a big challenge going into university. But I found that I overcame, because once you come here, at least the first few weeks especially, you kind of forget that you have all this, you have to get good grades, you got to do all these things, because they focus on trying to let you know that this is a safe space for you to grow as an individual and academically, of course, because your grades are important. So the professors were really helpful with that. Like they have one-on-ones where you can go into their offices and they'd help you with your courses. They even talk about things that don't relate to your academics. And the resident assistants, they would take you all the way to your class. And even if they didn't have the same major as you, they made sure they helped find a friend of theirs who would help you with that. And I believe that was really helpful. Like that sense of community helped me overcome that challenge, because then I was able to achieve the grades I wanted. I learned how to study properly from a senior student. And yeah, my professors also helped with that. So I think that was a way for me to overcome my challenge, I guess. And yeah, I also dealt with my culture shock and like knowing how to say certain things. Because for example, I came and I'm like, oh, I want water, and people are like, what? Who's Walter? You gotta then I find out that it's water. Like their T's are switched with D's kind of thing. So you gotta say water, or else people are gonna be looking for Walter. So like things like that. This is a good place for you to transition and figure yourself out without being ashamed, because everyone's so understanding and welcoming. People even trying to say my entire name without being rude about how long and ridiculous it is. So yeah, I feel like those things helped me transition nicely. But yeah.
A really important thing that we suggest that you do before your student comes to Augustana is to have a range of conversations around important matters. So we put together 5 different sort of areas of conversation that you could have over the summertime. The first one talks about money. A critical question for you, or conversation for you to have with your son or daughter, is around how is they're going to pay for the education, for residence fees and tuition and living expenses. Clear discussions on finances are really important to reduce surprises when students can possibly run out of money before the end of the term. What options are there for financing? Has your son or daughter applied for scholarships, bursaries, student loans, or other kinds of things? It's also really important to consider working with your son and daughter to set up a budget for while they're here at university. And what about jobs? Is he or she going to be working during the summer? And what about when they come to campus? Will they be working here or in the community? A second area for you to have conversations with your son and daughter around is around communications, or how you want to stay in contact with each other. We already talked about the privacy limitations that we have as a university. So if you want to get information about your son and daughter, you're going to need to get that from him or her. What are your expectations for conversations? How often would you like to talk with your son and daughter, and when? Are you considering coming to campus other than during the initial drop-off time in August? Also consider that your son or daughter is meeting new people, having new experiences, and so your visit can be very comforting, and sometimes it could also be disruptive. It's also important to have conversations about talking about how they are doing academically and socially. What kind of information would you like them to share with you? A third important area of conversation is around their health and wellness. What about medical care? Are there medical concerns that need to be taken care of during the year? Will your son and daughter have their documentation, healthcare cards, any medical insurance that you have that might cover them at university? Are there any prescriptions or things like that that they need to have? It's good to have conversations with them around alcohol and substance use. As you probably know, the residences at Augustana are dry, but there are events that happen on campus and, of course, in the community where alcohol is. And young adults tend to find those places in our community. So it's important to have conversations around healthy usage. Another important conversation to have with your son or daughter is around relationships. They're going to meet a lot of new people when they get here. What are your expectations for them? What are their expectations for themselves? Also around mental health. When we talked about adjustment periods before, we talked also that students experience different levels of stress or anxiety. Adjusting to being an adult can be a very stressful time. Conversations with your son and daughter over the summer about ways to identify harmful stress or anxiety or other mental health issues and how to work with them to be successful are very important. Another conversation or series of conversations to have is around accommodations. One of our departments here at Augustana is around student accessibility and support services. Some students have accommodations that allow them to have an equal ground or equal footing to be successful academically. It's important to have those conversations and make those arrangements before they come to campus. And finally, decision-making is a key topic of conversation. We did an exercise with students in their webinar that might be useful for you to do as well. We asked your son or daughter to put the following items into 3 columns. I always do this, I sometimes do this, or someone else does this for me. Here's a list of 9 or 10 things that we shared with them, and I'm sure you could think of more. But it'd be great to have a conversation with them around some of these things. About laundry, banking, budgeting, problem solving, organizing your deadlines, choosing your classes, cleaning your room, packing for a trip, filling out forms and university forms, or solving conflicts with others. We have found that students that take the lead in their own decision-making tend to be more successful at navigating the transition to university. Taking the lead on their decision-making doesn't mean that they'll exclude you from the conversations. It means that we believe these conversations are really important to happen. So consider what kinds of decisions you have typically made for your son or daughter, and how can you support them in taking the lead in making more of these decisions. There's a lot more that we could talk about during this webinar, but we feel that this is a good start. Thank you for watching. We hope that you found the information useful. We wish you and your family all the best as you get ready for your son and daughter to come to Augustana for the next term. Please consult the Welcome webpage and our website for more information. If you have any questions or comments about this webinar, please contact me at the following email address. And once again, have a great summer and look forward to seeing you in fall.